So today I wanted to talk about a book that I've recently read that I found quite profound. I picked it up for a couple of pounds. It was secondhand, and I don't know where I heard about it, but it just sounded right up my street because the key thesis of the book is all around a simple act of gratitude, how learning to say thank you changed my life, and how did this author say thank you through pen and paper, the power of a handwritten note. And to us analog-loving, pen and paper-loving people, it's absolute dreamland of a book because it takes the story from this individual, John Kralik, if I said it wrong. He was a lawyer, still is a lawyer, he's a judge now, I think, and he was at a kind of down point in his life where his law firm was failing, he was going through a painful divorce, his kids were distant from him, and generally everything was going pretty miserably, and he was on his own and feeling at a low point. And this story tells how he learns to find gratitude in anything and everything, and in reflecting that or expressing that, he writes a handwritten note every single day. And that is what this book is all about, and how his life really turns around because he just starts to recognize where the good things are in his life, and he expresses that through these handwritten notes that people just aren't expecting to receive. And it builds on his relationships. It makes him just a happier all-round person because he starts just notice the positives more. And it's just a wonderful book, really. And it's something I think probably at the end of this video, I would think we should set ourselves a challenge. I think I'm going to try this. I'm going to try 30 days and see how it goes. But I think, anyone else can obviously join and have a go in the comments. But in terms of, kind of the highlights from it, this is my I wrote a note card as I was going through it. So I had this in the back of the book as I was reading it. The blanks, I just write the sort of title so I can find out what these are for all the books I read. And then here are my kind of key notes from it. And what I'm doing is I'm reading the book. I turn the corners of the bottoms of the pages just so that I can find the notes. So I read the book first. I don't do this while I'm reading the book. I read it, turn the corners, and then write the points afterwards. So, the first one here, again, excuse my school of writing. I have said in other videos that I am going to concentrate on improving my handwriting as a key goal. So the page 14, these are page numbers at the side. These are my very brief notes. And then from these notes, I can then expand them into my Zettelkasten as kind of more, go from like fleeting notes to more permanent notes. So in terms of, like page, so I can flick here, I can say page 14. What does it say on page 14? That was of interest to me. I put here, on being grateful for what you have. So here, this is it. I think he goes for a walk. That's how it all starts off. He decides to go off for a walk, and he hears a voice that says, until you learn to be grateful for the things you have. And if I should zoom in actually a bit, if you can see better if I go a little bit closer. Sorry, I didn't have that lined up very well, did I? The voice says, until you learn to be grateful for the things you have, you will not receive the things you want. So he said, I do not know who spoke to me. I could not explain this voice or the words it said, which seemed to have no logical relation to the other thoughts in my head. I was tired and frustrated. I had to sit down for a minute. But basically, he realizes he's got to be more grateful for the things that he has in his life. And then I put a note here, 46, new way to respond to question, how are you today? Look for positive things. So page 46, where did I have that note? So he starts to find, by the end of February, when someone asks, how are you? Instead of responding the latest development, reporting the latest development in one of my struggles, I noticed something for which I was grateful, even if it was only making payroll that week or keeping my business open. Often I mentioned that my youngest was doing well in school. She was always doing well in school, but it just not occurred to me to enjoy what a relief and delight this success was to me. This new way of responding to how you're doing happened unconsciously, but after I noticed it, I decided it was something I should keep doing. So previously, whenever somebody asked him how he was doing, he would respond with something negative, like, no, business is terrible, I'm not feeling well, all these sorts of things. Whereas now, by writing these handwritten letters every day, being grateful for something, and that because that's his ethos and his way of finding things to write about is basically looking for something positive that's happened that day and just thanking that person. So that's kind of what's happened. I just noticed that I may have missed one here, 40. See, I've got page 40 and I've turned the corner. This is interesting. And I haven't actually jotted down here because I've gone from page 14 to 46. So what was this? Yeah, that's the start to this, basically. During February, which distressingly preoccupied with a lawsuit against me, I began to answer the question, how are you differently? The time spent writing a couple of thank you notes at the end of the day cooled me down, involved finding friends or family members' addresses, which made me think about them and where they lived and what their life was like. In my spreadsheet, I tapped out what I was thanking them for and a rough draft of the note itself. So that's what he does to come on later on. He keeps a spreadsheet of all his notes. So he's got like a database and he keeps referring back to what he's positive about. 72, I mean, there aren't that many of these, so I'm not going to go on for too long. Writing thank you notes for clients who pay invoices. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So he kind of starts to think about page 72. I now explained to Bob how my thank you note project had given me the idea for a different approach. In January and February, I took a look at the checks, as in the payments that did come in, and decided to thank those clients who were paying, especially the ones who were paying on time. One client was located down the street, but had operations all over the country. My bills were paid out of too far off places, yet the payments were nearly always made on time. I noticed a couple of payments that were especially early, and he wrote a note saying, many thanks to you for seeing that our bills are paid on time. We receive payments today, blah, 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 that were barely 2 weeks old. This keeps this business functioning smoothly, frees me from worry, and is just all round terrific. See, no one does that, do they? No one writes letters like that anymore. It's such a shame. And if you received that, if you paid a bill and you got a handwritten note from the owner of that business, what a nice thing to happen. I mean, again, this is what I'm going to practice, what I preach here, and going to start implementing this. 81, thanking the Starbucks guy who no one left. So what I can't read my writing. This is my problem, you see. No one left out from gratitude. Yeah, so no one's left out. So even the Starbucks, he goes and gets Starbucks every day, and he basically writes a note to the Starbucks guy, because obviously they ask for your name, don't they? Quite often you get a Starbucks, and he finally finds his name, and he writes him a note. And what's quite funny here, it says, where is it? Page 81. On my way to the office, I stopped at Starbucks. There was a guy at the Starbucks who was especially cheery, sometimes jarringly so, to someone not yet caffeinated. Not only was he vibrating with enthusiasm, but he had also taken the time to learn some of the customers' names, including mine. Maybe there is an employee manual in which they are told to do this, but this guy struck me as sincere. On the morning, he greeted me with, "Good morning, John," the usual venti. When he first remembered my name, I had tried to remember his, but I got it wrong and called him Steve for a while. Then there was a period when I didn't try. I was never sure. Was it Scott or was it Steve? Suddenly I realised that I had something to be thankful for. I had my thank you note for this day. Now all I needed was a name, so I lingered at a table with my coffee for a while until another customer with a better memory said, "Thank you, Scott." So as absurd as it may seem, I wrote a thank you note to the Starbucks guy. Scott, name right. Thank you for taking the time each morning to greet me in a friendly way. It is also so wonderful to me that you took the time and trouble to remember my name. In this day and age, few people make this effort, and few still do it in a way that feels sincere. You do both. It really makes a difference to me every day. Best, John. And what's really quite interesting here, so he hands the note to him, and the guy doesn't look very happy. He kind of puts it to one side, and he wonders why he didn't smile. And long story short, here he goes into it, and he basically, the Starbucks guy has read it by the following day, and he's almost got tears in his eyes, and he says, "All I normally get is complaints, and I thought your letter was a complaint letter. That's why I put it to the side and didn't even open it." His just initial assumption was it was negative, and it was going to be a letter of complaint, and that's just probably the way of the world. That's the only time often people write letters is complaint letters. Very rarely do people write gratitude letters. We've got to change that, folks. We've got to change that. 114, I won't go on. This is a whole section here because this is quite interesting. I've never heard this before. It's about a specific book. Okay, this is a kind of meta. It's about a book within a book here. So I'm talking about this book, and he's referring to the book in this. And the book is called Dr. Hudson's Secret Journal. And basically what he's saying here is, I'm not going to read a whole section there, but it's Dr. Hudson's Secret Journal by Lloyd C. Douglas, decoded and typed by Robert Merrick, assisted by Nancy Ashford. Victory achieved over anything and everything. And basically the quote is, I now have everything I want and can do anything I wish as a result of the secret. There's a formula, you know. And basically it's all about there's a secret. Isn't that kind of like the law of attraction type of thing? And the secret is written in the Bible. And it's in a page, some says somewhere here. I got it somewhere around here. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, upon a detailed reading, it turned out that the exact process for achieving power to do, be, and have what you want is written on a single page torn from a Bible. The book never tells you what page of the Bible it is, but illuminated through the slowly developing melodrama of the book, it appears that the secret is to do good works, to give money away to the men and women in need around you. These are called investments. They create a power that eventually brings you what is most important to you. This is never the money that you sent out for to you that investment is all used up. It can be recovered only if the recipient forwards it to someone else. Then, just maybe, it will come back to you in a way you least expect, but most need. The investments must be done in complete secrecy, and if they are mentioned or repaid, they lose their power. How fascinating. And this kind of feeds back into his point here about his investments, so writing these letters, expecting nothing in return. And as the story unfolds, basically, he gets better relationships, he finds a new partner, his relationship with his children improve through the letters he's written to them. His law firm turns around, he's got more clients, his clients are happier, he gets noticed and he gets appointed as a judge, it's something he's always wanted to do, and it's all through these letters. And he does 365 letters, he does it for a whole year, a letter a day. And he basically, at points throughout this, I got slightly concerned that he was writing emails, and he does confirm on page 224, I've put there, handwritten letter better than email. So he does confirm that it's actually letters that he is writing by hand, which is music to my ears. So 254, the notes that came to me reinforced my conviction that handwriting is important and special, that it forces a concentration on the task. I continue to believe that the best thank you notes are handwritten. It is what sets a thank you note apart from an email. I, for one, was just using plain note cards, so I know that there was nothing about the cards themselves that was special. There was nothing that distracted from the message. Even in business, a handwritten note still plays an important role. It doesn't take a lot more effort than writing an email, which inevitably is buried in the annoyance of a glowing screen and promptly lost in cyberspace. A handwritten note just feels like sincere gratitude. It conveys your physical presence to the receiver. You are right there, not far away, at the other end of a machine. Even when it's your business, people feel it and they respond. So there you have it. And finally, I've said he maintains a spreadsheet, which I think he says here. And with all, so he basically does something says 365 of them. As with all writing thank you notes, improve if you revise them. For me, my spreadsheet gave me the opportunity to do a first draft. So when I picked up the pen, I was rewriting. I was less apt to run out of space on the small card, less likely to put the sentences out of order, less likely to decide what I was saying was too awkward. I recommend one rewrite to make sure your sentiment is conveyed clearly and honestly. The best thank you notes will stir in the recipient's hearts the knowledge that their gesture was truly appreciated, and even inspire the desire to give again, knowing that they will be thanked and appreciated. What a book. Highly recommend you get it. Just real heartwarming stuff, and the power of pen and paper. That's what comes out of this. And, pen and paper comes out of it as well for me here. These notes, really useful. And I'm going to try it. And I think you should too. How about that? Should we set ourselves a challenge that we do 30 days to start with and keep going? They've got to be handwritten notes. We find something in the day we're thankful for, and we either post them or hand them over to people. And it's got to be a note of gratitude. If you look at his examples in here, when you read them, they're really short little notes he writes. No essays here, just short notes, handwritten notes, pen and paper. Let's do it. I hope you enjoy it.